Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. Welcome to another video. And of course, today we're going to be talking about what we normally do, which is what? The edifying of our spirit and truth. All right. And why is this important? Well, of course, we want to be doing things in the best way of our own abilities, and our journey is personal, so it's always an importance on guidance. And I might not be the one to guide you, but I can give you the truth that you need if you can't find it anywhere else. Praise to our Elohim, our Adonai, that discernment comes upon you and that we all seek the truth and nothing but the truth. All right. And today, like always, first I'm going to tell you to grab your buy and bow and your biblioteca. So if you would like, you go ahead and do that. If you don't, that's totally fine. But I will say that we're going to be in the book of Saint Luke and Chronicle of Saints Luke and chapter 1 is going to be very important as of today, maybe tomorrow or any given moment that you need to edify, right? So, what shall we do? We're going to get started. And basically, the topic for today is you're one with Eli, even in the womb. Destiny is accurate. So we have this word predestined, and I basically already explained it in a previous video. Predestined, where everything is already presumed to be accurate, and even if we choose or not choose, already it's already been made, right? Of course, we make the choices of our own decisions. That's the free will and the free choice that we're given at hand. But like I said, people only want the good that comes off of free will, right? And not the bad. Okay. And when it comes to the choices, they're like cause and effect don't exist. They only exist because we're talking about the Christian, quote unquote, the word they use, God, right? And it's like they limit the aspect of the creator because of their own personal inadequate ability to think of the meaning of the word God in their own definition, right? As to what it is. So they like to nitpick. And that's what we don't do here. So you're born with a purpose. Just like how air, oxygen separates itself from nitrogen and carbon dioxide, oxide in any aspect, right? In any aspect of purpose or a specific disposition, it knows exactly how to separate itself from a molecular level, atom from atom, atom to atom. The same way you breathe in oxygen, oxygen, you don't tell oxygen, come here. Oxygen knows exactly what to do and how it goes into you. And the carbon dioxide goes into the plants or whatever vegetation, right? It knows its place. And we cannot confine ourselves to dismiss that. So, having the choice, we can choose to be in a room full of carbon dioxide, right? And it does us no good. And what is the consequence? You're going to be unalived by air. That's what we call suffocating, right? But is it a predestined choice? It was foreseen, but it doesn't mean that it's an outcome that has to happen. It's like having 800 strings, and I'm just limiting it to our human brain and our human mind, right? The aspect on being able to understand this concept. You have 800 strings, all different color, but there are only two options, life or death. That comes from, if you pick the outcome of you picking any one of those 800 strings. So if you pick the color red, and red means violence, there's so many outcomes that could come from violence, right? Or there's so many situations that could come into red, right? And you might get robbed, and then bang, 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 a gang war, but involving a lot of weaponry of mass destruction. We don't know, right? All of these colors have a defined meaning, just like a scent, just like the way we perceive things on how it is, right? So some people, they are not able to fathom that because they want to be literal and logical. So they only want to be logical on their own perspective and their opinions rather than being literal, right? Because we have this thing called a sound meaning, a sound logic, right? So we have people that nitpick because they want to be right, and this just doesn't work that way. Perspectives is called our own opinion. That's the reason why our journey is important, because just because somebody pray a certain way doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. You can work 1,000 times when it comes to praying. You might ask for the same thing. That's not your purpose. It's never going to be your purpose. Now it could be your purpose because the person didn't fail properly, but like I said, destiny. Sometimes the person got to go through the wrong time, the rough terrains, in order for them to learn a lesson, or just for them to be able to give somebody a specific inheritance. You never know. Things happen because it's supposed to. People talk about destiny swaps and all of this stuff. It doesn't work like that. The reason, see, destiny swap is basically saying a hinder it's like hindering or alteration, and in basically what you have. It's like somebody is stealing what you have. That don't mean that they're taking it away from you, in a sense of you're never going to own it, you're never going to have it. It's just at the moment you're not meant to have it because you're not prepared. So you have to be molded into the person for you to be prepared. And that's how these things operate. A lot of people don't function with that mentality where when they don't get their way, they complain about it. If I don't get my way, I will talk. If I'm unhappy, I'm unhappy. But, at the end of the day, I know exactly where I stand. My integrity is not going to change exactly what people tell me, how people tell me, because just like how Google don't tell me everything, I have to know exactly what people are telling me. So I break down words, because if I break down a word and I understand the actual concept rather than just using logic, which can be alternated, right, by theories and philosophy, right? Which is creating a lot of destruction, corruption, and a lot of ideals that are not meant to exist in the aspect of how we should actually live our life and understand what things are and its function. It's not gonna work for me. I'm just that type of person. That's why I'm very keen on listening to people. I'm very keen on being like the type of person where I will let somebody speak. I'll let people tell me their opinions, right? And if it makes sense and the spirit of our creator convicts me, right? And not the spirit of religion, I'll be very more than welcome to taking that knowledge, because why? It's going to help me in my journey. But other people don't think about it like that. That's why there's so much confusion. And I'm literally on a live as we're talking, right? And we have a discussion about different denominations of religion when it comes to Christianity, right? And it's kind of sad that there's so much denomination, but then yet every denomination holds some type of truth that not everybody is being told about, or they don't congregate to bring all of this knowledge in one place to help to hold some type of foundation that can benefit the entire populace. No, they don't do that, because why? Money. Money. Remember, and I told one of my brethrens that the Roman Empire or the Roman Church are the ones that are actually really in charge, which are the one that devised the Catholic Church, because the Catholic Church would not exist without the Roman Church. I don't know if they really listened to me carefully, because they were kind of bickering amongst themselves. But I told them that because the reason I even told him that I don't trust the Vatican because if there's somebody that is ruling over Rome, which is the Roman Empire and those territories, and they were the one that were holding responsibility or accountability over the holy scriptures, and there's been so much translation and there's now so much problems going on right now, would you think that it would be something for me to trust, especially if the Catholic Church, right, not even the Catholic but the Roman Church, which is actually the church that rules over the Catholic, the Protestant, the Baptist, the Pentecost, all of those other churches that are the denominations of Christianity, right? If they're holding things in the cataclysm, right? I don't even know how to call that place of where they store books and all of that. If they hold so much knowledge and they see that there's so much problems out here, why are they not sharing this knowledge? Mind you, Putin already put out a pictogram of a description of the old times. Now people don't believe that to be true, but let's be realistic when we talk about the nature of a geno and adaptation when it comes to circumstances and in the environment, right? I literally looked up the word when it came to human evolution. It doesn't take 30,000 years for humans. Well, it takes supposedly when scientists talk, it takes about 30,000 years for humans to evolve naturally, right? From generations to generations, right? It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't take 30,000 years, but it takes way over 2,000 years. My apologies, I said that wrong because I did some research on that actually myself. It takes way over 2,000 years for humans to evolve. So if there was a genealogy, right, when it comes to these geno or when it comes to the change of pigmentism, right, we can choose the word we want to use, but it would never change the actual purpose or the actual, what is it called, the originate of a situation of what is. So if, like, I was talking to a lot of them and they were debating saying that Christ is not black. If you're not blanco, you're gonna be negro. It's just that very simple. There's no maybes, there's no other way to say it. If you are not blanco, you are negro. So simple as that. It doesn't matter about it doesn't, well, I said pigmentism, it doesn't matter about your race or your ethnicity. If you are a colored person, you're black. And I'm not saying black because even the word black has its own definition in a different language. Some languages it means death, because pitch black is nothing, right? Um so we have to understand these things. So I don't just break down a word and just look up the definition. No, I break down the word from its root meaning, vowels, suffix, prefixes, all of it in different languages where it really derives from, which majority of these words come from Greek, Latin. It can be Phoenician, I already said Greek, which is still somewhat of a Roman language, right? But we also have Aramanian, we have Hebrew, we have Arabic, right? We have all of these things. What is the other ones? There are like about I believe not six or seven of the other languages that are still compiled that made these languages, that I can possibly go on right now and look up, or whatever the case is. These languages, they have a, well, I say language, I mean these words, they have a meaning. So when we're debating and we're talking about things that are very important, it means a lot when we discuss it in a sense of actual unity rather than separation, and saying that, oh, this is better because we have more information. But then how come having more information is not being distributed to the people so that we know all of these things? This is also important. But then at the same time, how come the people that don't know it are not actually looking forward on knowing the knowledge that this person is knowing, right? These things are, it's not unity, it's nothing but division. And this is the reason why the Roman Empire, right, when they held hostage the holy scriptures, right? Yes, we were given the opportunity and the chance to basically have to our advantage, or some type of favor of having, the testimonial scriptures that were written about, the gospel of Christ. Yes, it's a very great thing. It's a beautiful thing. But there's so many other chronicles that are not even put in there, like the Apocrypha, right? I talked to you guys about the book of Enoch. I talked to you guys about the Apocrypha and the other ones and that were mentioned as the seven. I said the seven. I mean the Dead Sea Scrolls, right? Because in somewhat that's a meaning as well. And if you don't know exactly what that is, I will highly suggest that you go and look it up. All right. So all of this knowledge, right? And there is no common, unification at all, which is kind of sad because we're going to be arguing about the same thing for another 1,000 years, and there's nothing to fix it besides talking about Christ. And this is another thing that people are not understanding. So I try to talk, right? But give people hints because it's like saying this: if I were to talk and then tell everybody this and that, and everybody has their own belief, that's totally fine, right? But then certain things is not meant for online conversation. Certain things are meant for a one-on-one conversation where you can have a one or two conversation where there's no extra distribute I cannot say that word properly. See, English is definitely not a thing for me, but I think it's distribute this. I'm gonna avoid that word for now. But there's no dispensing the word at all. Okay, so being the case of this scenario, it kind of makes it a little bit hard for knowledge to be gained when there's no common ground on understanding exactly what each and everybody knows, because it's like being a Power Ranger and there are different factions of a Power Ranger, and it's like we all have to move this one big robot, but we have the head which knows everything about the robot, but then the arm only knows everything about the arm, the left arm, and the right arm only knows everything about the right arm, and the torso only knows about everything about the torso, let alone the left leg and the right leg. This is how these things are operating. So we are the body of Christ. So when we cannot understand exactly how these things are meant to operate, it creates even more division, because this is the lessons that the apostles have been trying to repeatedly tell us. The saints have been repeatedly, or you could say the disciples, the basically the testimonial inspirations that we read every day have been trying to tell us. The more that we keep bringing entitlement in these arguments, the worse it gets, because now people are talking about speak your truth when there's only one truth, and that's it. There's no such as thing as speak your truth. There's only one truth. That's the reason why people say maybe, if, possibly. Like, these options does not exist. It's either yes or no. And it's very easy to understand these ideals, because it makes it, like how can I put it? It makes it very easy for people to realize that logic is not hard to understand, especially if people cannot come together. Like, that's why I leave a lot of hints. And a lot of them, the people that I talk to, they are very intelligent, and trust and believe they are highly intelligent. I'm not gonna lie to you. Give me one moment, please. They're highly intelligent. It's just that when I hear them talk, it's more so. It's not everybody all the time, but it's more so like an ego thing. Um, I think that all of these aspects of our understanding is what's destroying us, because you can have a lot of knowledge, but there is a word called arrogance. Okay, there's a difference between being confident, and there's a difference between being egotistic, or you can say arrogance, because ignorant is what? the lack of knowledge. So arrogance, you have the knowledge and you just choose to pursue or project a certain output or a certain characteristics to who you are and whatever that it is. Okay. So when it comes to knowledge, right, somebody that's truly walking in Christ, you have to want to learn. I learn even if I know something that somebody's talking about, I don't even have to always give an input, because at the end of the day, I know exactly what I do my research on and what I have in my notes. So that's why I write, that's why I take notes, that's why I have my credible sources whenever I actually say something, because I'm not going to say something out of my mouth that would pretentiously be a lie. Everything that I say out of my mouth, if people understand or not, right, it's always going to be truth. And that's how I keep my morale and the actual principles of what I do. Right? It's not about lies. It's not about hypothesis. It's not about any of those reluctant ideals. It's about truth. So if I don't 100 fully percent know, I would tell you something that is truth, so that if I do know something, right, and somebody knows it better, they can teach me. So if it's something that they know better than they'll be able to relevate to the scenario. Because like I said, I'm not going to get up on anywhere and talk anything, because I do not want people to first be lost. If I were to be the person to even be brought in somebody's life to help somebody learn about Christ, I wouldn't want the person to be lost. I also wouldn't want to project actually the knowledge that I know, because somebody, just because you learn something, right? All knowledge are the same, right? As far as the truth. All knowledge is the same as far as the truth. So, but it doesn't mean that everybody is going to digest, because there's a difference between listening and digesting the information. It doesn't mean that everybody is going to digest that information the same way. Some people, they're more, they're more, what's that word, when you read, when they're able to perceive in a sense of, I can't think of it, but there are more people that can imagine or picture scenarios and settings better than others. So the way that you think can be way different than how somebody else think. And it makes it kind of hard when there are so many aspects of understanding that are not ruled in one faction, and it's just like there's a base foundation and there's different factions of this specific knowledge. It only brings nothing but confusion. So we can agree on one thing, and we have to disagree on everything else. We have to pray on that, because that's a real thing out here nowadays that people are taking very lightly. That is a real thing that people are taking very, very lightly. And this is one thing that I don't do. I don't talk bad about nobody, because I've talked to a lot of atheists, and a lot of atheists, man, they've given me sound logic, right? But majority of their logic is based on their opinions, right? Which is in a sense of a possibility or a hypothesis, right? That is, you can just call it a theory. Now, we all know what theory is, right? A possibility. So it doesn't mean that it's real. Just like how they say that Christ and all of this is not real. I even tell them, just out of respect and love, that hey, if it wasn't real, I don't blame you, right? But because I've experienced my journey, and it's helped me, right? That's the only way for me to give you that, because I can give you sound logic, which is scientifical, right, which is also philosophical, and also literature, that's also placed in literature, right? And it's not going to change the aspect of people's wants and desires. So if they choose to want to be understanding or wanting to take in the information of your perspective, that is perfectly fine. But if they don't, do not force it on them. You can joke around and say certain things, but don't make yourself feel better than anybody, because remember, we came here to serve, and we did not come here to be the head of anything. And that's the problem. And I keep reminding this all the time, repeatedly, repeatedly. We came to serve. We came to serve. We didn't come for the spotlight. That's why when I see certain things when it comes to competition, even if I was to do music and somebody wanted to, compete against me, if it came to music, art, dancing, whatever, I can throw down when it comes to dancing. I could throw down when it comes to instruments. Like I have a very good ear, and I could be artistic, right? Seemingly to the ideal of science and their possibilities of and their wordings, right? But or you could say in the spectrum. I could be in the spectrum, but it doesn't really mean that I don't have these skills and talents. I'm very talented. So I'm not going to compete just because people are satisfied and they want to feel some type of way. No, I came here to do something, and my job is to do this, and it's to do that, and it's to do this, and it's to do that. A lot of people don't look at it like that. They look at it as a competition. So they can understand peace. But understanding peace is not really bringing it's not changing the fact that you can understand peace, but then you're not showing peace. And it's like there are more atheists, there are more unbelievers that show peace more than believers themselves. That includes the Muslims, the Buddhists, right? The Hindus, all of them. They fight amongst themselves too, but they gather amongst themselves more than the Christians, and that's the problem. And that is a very big problem because it's going to turn into a war where you have to pick a side. Because if you don't pick a side, it's going to be like, oh, you don't know anything. You're not a real Christian. You get what I'm saying? And that's problematic. And that's the world in the modern time that we're living in. Because nowadays, right, we deal with aspects of an understanding, right, that is, like I said, speak your truth. Sometimes it's better to keep silent. If it's not offending you, keep silent. Sometimes let people speak, because at the end of the day, they're going to make a fool of themselves if it's not to be true. Realistically, that's how it usually happens. I'm not, like I said, I'm not the type of person where I don't like even in real life, I don't like telling people just because you don't believe in Christ that you're not a good person. I can't do that. You're a good person if you believe in Christ or not. It doesn't mean that you have salvation, because I can't call you a bad person because I used to do the things that you do. If not, I probably still somewhat do some of the things that you do. So I don't have a place to judge you. I don't. And we have to remember that humane side of our life, because at the end of the day, like I said, we came to serve, and we did not come to be the head when it comes to other people. Over demons and devils, yes, but not over our own people. Because all of this hierarchy, monarchy, patriarchy stuff, that is ordained by our creator. We don't give each other titles of rulership, because if anybody ever think that they better than anyone, I'm sorry to tell you that it's just you are speaking blasphemy. And I will look at you like you're speaking blasphemy, and I will continue to give you hints in the aspect of love, but I will not disrespect you. It's not my job to convert you. Even there are Christians that need to be converted. Not so everybody always focusing on the atheists. No, the atheists, they know what they're talking about, and that's why they're so logical. Even if they decide to reject, it's us Christians. We have to start learning more on how to be mindful of how we're digesting information and we're projecting this information. Because I literally saw a video of a woman and her child, where her child pranked on her son pranked his mom, right? Like he was spilling blood, and she came out of nowhere, and she didn't know that they were being pranked, and she started saying like she was speaking in tongue or something. This is the modern world. This is the modern time now, and people they have a whole line of likes and views on TikTok. That is the modern time now. People would say that they speak in tongue, and it's not that. I can promise you it's not that. I can promise you it's not that. It's not going to come off of you just getting in a scenario, because I promise you, you can't speak in tongue if it's not to glorify a creator. That's the first thing. Either you're speaking the devil's tongue, and people don't even know that demons, they have their own language, because they for sure do. There is a demonic language that people don't even realize exists. That's what they teach. They teach a lot of people these things. I just want you guys to understand that. But let's get into the word, because I've been talking about this specific topic for a little bit longer than when I should have. But the verse says, Zacharias believed him, not believed him not, and so forth, that angel may. Oh, I did that wrong. Did I? No, I didn't. Yes, I did. All right, let's restart. My apologies, brothers and sisters. Let's restart that. It says, in the time of Herod, my apologies, there was a priest by the name of Zacharias and his wife Elizabeth, as the daughter of Aaron, living in Abida. Both God deemed righteous, and even though they were old, both didn't have any children. Many from this Many from his land did not pray to God the Almighty, as as a way to make a miracle, right? In the word God, right? I'm just gonna say Yahuwah sent his angel Gabriel as Zacharias was praying in the temple, and revealed to him that his wife will bear a child, and his name will be John, and he will lead the lost to Yahuwah the Almighty. But due to circumstances of our physics, Zacharias believed him not, and so forth. That angel made him mute until the day his wife birthed. As it was so, 6 months following, in the land of Nazareth, Gabriel was sent by God, by Yahuwah, to Joseph, right? And Joseph, and I say Joseph because of the J, but it's Joseph, Joseph, and Mary the Virgin, informing them of the what? Of the upcoming of the birth of Jesus, of Yahusha, and who will basically the Messiah, right? And who he will be the world, and who he will be to the world now and after the Messiah, right? Gabrielle also informed Mary of the news that were to take place with her cousin Elizabeth, as she is to birth John, both Jesus and him doing great works of our Creator. To test the word of the angel, Mary went to visit her cousin Elizabeth. As they found nothing but truth, as the baby in Elizabeth leaped in joy of the presence of Yahushua, right? As Mary approached near, both being a plan of the Almighty, and it was so, and they grew in the guidance of our ruler. Now, why is that as far as the why is that important as far as the topic? It's important. I'm going to tell you guys it's important because, like I said, destiny, just like the confusion that's happening amongst our own fellow brothers and sisters, is destined. Because if Constantine, being the king or ruler of Rome at the time, right, did not held any of the holy scriptures captive, right? There wouldn't be war that dealt with Christianity, first to begin with, right? There wouldn't be so many divisions right? Because I forgot the name. The Levites, right, were somewhat what we'd consider now the Catholics, the Romans. That's basically to make it very short. Okay, that's majority of that right there. Just so people are very clear on what that means. Okay, I don't really remember it fully, but I will make a video on this once I get all of the documents and the sources back. But trust and believe. If you don't believe me, you can do your research yourself, and I have no problem if you would like to comment on my video, well, our video actually, because this is not my video. I don't do this for me alone. I do this for all of us. Okay? So, what shall we do? What shall we do? Shall we all continue? Yes, of course. But yes, as far as the destiny, right, that is meant, all of these things in the church, the Roman church, Constantine, if he had not held it, mind you, they said that he was a what? A converted Christian, right? He was a converted Christian, and I'm not going to deny that he was a converted Christian. He could have been converted, right? But then we don't know nothing about his children much. A lot of people don't know the biography of the kids, because kids also play a part in this. Family also, lineages play a part in this, where lineage, when it comes to royalty, right? They don't just, when we're speaking of aristocrats and all of these royalties and monarchs, right? They have a set of rules that cannot be necessarily what is it called, agreed upon by just one person alone. They can have meetings about these things, and they can actually plan things out in a sense where one person can be the actual you can say the face of the operation, and while you have the puppeteers and the marionettes, right? So these things are very masterfully planned for a lot of people that are not aware on how these tactics work. So if you don't think that this is not a tactic, I will highly suggest that you go and do some research based on the clues of words that I've given you guys, so that you do not misinterpret anything that I said. So to make that very short, yes, I do not trust the popes and them at all, and I don't have any problems with them. I just have a problem of the knowledge and the things that they allowed to continue to be spread out here in this entire world. Okay, and the teachings. See, like, mind you, the Roman Empire, as far as the Roman Church, they follow majority of the old teachings, which is of the Old Testament, and the old practicing aspect of how they used to do things, before Christ. So all of this exorcism stuff, this is where we get holy water, right? Because you can speak the words of authority. So you're telling me that a trinket, because I always use that word, when I talk about selling items, right? Just like the Pharisees and the Pharisees and the scribes and all of these elders and the chief priests, right? Chief priests, right? Literally, it's a business. Because mind you, that it's not even the Catholic Church that the Roman Church, right? The Roman Catholic Church, they hold so much power and money in comparison to in comparison to some of these families and businesses that are out here. Okay, so understand that, because a lot of people are not understanding what is being said. They hold so much power and money. They have over 100. Some of their buildings is made of gold. The entire rooms are made of gold. Certain type of things that you wouldn't even consider. Certain things that you wouldn't even consider normal, or whatever the case is. Like legitimately. And this is the reason why I personally, right? I watch everything. I'm talking from the ups to every stone will not be on, like every stone will be flipped. Every stone will be turned. There's not one stone that will not be turned, and I can promise you, I can promise you, when it comes to this stuff, it's not a joke, it's a life or death situation. It is a life and death situation. It's like for real. It is a true life and death situation. So I cannot play about this at all. And I literally watch, I literally listen, I literally do my research, I literally try to see other people's perspective. And trust and believe when I say this, it's a life and a death situation. It's not even a joke, and I can't even consider it to be a joke. Mind you, a lot of people, we all have gifts, right? Not everybody has gifts. Well, not everybody is able to exercise their gift the way they want, but we all have gifts, right? Somebody could be having a gift of prophecy, right? Visions, whatever, speaking in tongue, right? Imagine somebody having a gift of all of them. All of those gifts. Imagine one person having all of those gifts. What would you consider that person? Because I don't even believe that people know exactly who they speak to when they speak to them. I think they just speak because they either don't know, or they weren't informed. But anyways, my brothers and sisters, as far as today, that'll be all. It's been about 42 minutes, and all I can say is much love to you, and kiss on to you and your family. And you already know what I'm about to say. And if somebody said they don't love you today, tell them I said you better love, and stop being toxic, please. You're destroying, and you are literally being the problem. Love you.